r/Askreddit by Reddit and chill. What should be removed from schools? I am from Russia, so that these are problems of Russian schools. Improve the professionalism of teachers. 2. Improve food in the dining room. 3. To remove the pressure of teachers on students. 4. Make training more individual. I translated this text through Google Translator, so I apologize for the errors. This is surprisingly well translated. Well done. As a former teacher, administrators that don't back up teachers when trying to enforce rules they came up with. You want kids to stop wearing ducking hats? Then you do something. I'm not wasting my time with that. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that kids can't wear hats outside on school grounds. I can understand inside though. This is how it was at the schools I went to anyway. Edit. Some teachers would confiscate hats if they saw I had one, even though I didn't wear it inside. Teachers who are really just coaches. I went to a high school that was super big on sports. Think our football team had its own MTV reality show. And our games were on ESPN Big. So we had a massive coaching staff. And the school had to find teaching jobs for all of them. Few were good, but some were laughably bad. I had a history teacher who thought John Adams and John Quincy Adams were the same person. And I was a hardcore creationist for a while because my 9th grade biology teacher was so bad at teaching evolution that I thought there's no way this is correct. LMAO. My high school had a movie. But our football team won their first playoff last week since 1987. They spend so much money on football, but our band and orchestra instruments are falling apart. The school lunches are horrible, and even though we're the biggest in the state, we still don't have enough space, and that is including the separate building we have for freshmen that's 1 kilometer away. I'm so glad I'm gone and I graduated this past June. Edit. Nice. Those motivational posters with a picture of birds and some vague white text in a black border. Sacrifice your classmates to the bird if they bully you. Bullying is not allowed. Don't bully. The zero tolerance policy. Oh my god. I'm not even sure what zero tolerance policy you're referring to. But I'm gonna tell you a little story that I presented on during college in one of my education courses. One day, a teacher finds that an 11-year-old student has a gun in his backpack. The kid is immediately sent to the office. Now, under zero tolerance policies, this kid should be expelled. But would you like the rest of the story? That morning, the kid's father was wasted. He had a habit of being abusive towards his sons. But today was something that went above and beyond. He pulled out a gun and threatened to kill his 2 kids. But he passed out before he could do anything. The older of the 2 boys took it upon himself to get the gun out of the house and take it to adults he trusted. His teachers and principals at school. But he was discovered with the gun before he could turn it in. Regrettably, I forget the exact details of this story. But I promise you it was an event that actually happened and not just some thought experiment. Shit like this is why zero tolerance policies need to be reviewed and updated. Teachers who can't teach. Currently I'm in a geometry class for school, and my teacher worked for NASA at some point before retiring and starting to teach. She knows she can't teach. We have told her she can't teach. And other teachers know she can't teach, so now I have to just suck it up. Ask other teachers for help or use YouTube to help. Shit's horrible. Yeah. My geometry teacher, in the early 90s, was a football coach. Luckily the guy behind me understood the concepts well enough and let me cheat off of him. Dude behind me also gave me my first cigarette and introduced me to NWA. A good guy. Teachers who can't teach. I had a teacher that was like, I'm treating this like a college class. Buddy. We are freshmen and sophomores in high school. Everyone who has him is constantly confused, and I switched out of his class. Ironically, most of my college professors, with exception to 1 or 2 super hardasses, were way more lax than any of my HS teachers made it out to be. Decisions made by corporations trying to profit from education and requirements set by politicians with no idea what's best for students. The vast majority of new mandates do not benefit my students at all. If the money being spent to implement ridiculous programs were being spent on appropriate staffing instead, I'd be a much more effective teacher. The best schools in the world offer teaching staff nearly equal proportions of teaching planning time. Most American schools allow teachers to spend about 20% of their day on planning grading. And the other 80% is contact time with students. My school requires nearly 90% of my day be spent with students. It's unreasonable to think I can be a fantastic teacher with that load. Yes. Politicos who can't even read statistics properly should not dictate how I run my class. College professors who know nothing about the subject they're teaching and or don't actually want to teach. College TAs who clearly do have an expert level understanding of the subject matter but can't teach it to students because their accents are so thick they might as well be speaking entirely in armpit farts. Group punishment. It's ridiculous and half the time whatever that one kid did wasn't even punishable. All of the detentions I got was the result of group punishments. She didn't care that I was innocent. Those shitty cheese sandwiches and warm orange juice from breakfast that you had to get at lunch because you couldn't afford $2.80 for lunch every day. 5 days a week for 9 months. The shame of having to walk to your table with that and have people make fun of you still haunts me. I sometimes chose to starve overeating that. Because every time I did I felt it was just the school mocking me for being poor. I remember that my middle school used to do something similar to that. The worst part is that it was in the front of the cafeteria. Where everyone could see you. Super embarrassing. In Texas we have an end of the school year exam called the STAR test. Many people think it is stupid and for good reason. Yes, tests are good. It takes what you learned and sees it in a formal manner. The score on the test sees how well you learned and how well the teacher taught you. The STAR test does not do that. You have to take a test about everything you learned that year. Which brings in the habit of cramming information into your brain for one test and then immediately forgetting it. It is a terrible habit that is bad to break and is a habit that shouldn't be forced upon students as young 8 years old. In my district we start taking it in the 3rd grade. Other schools might start earlier or later. My dad is personally against. And there have been many times where parents tried to protest against the STAR test but to no avail. Sorry for bad grammar. Thank you. The STAR test is a load of shit. They should get rid of the rule of getting the same punishment as the attacker for defending yourself. Edit. Thanks for 500 upvotes guys. This was one of my first comments. That's complete bullshit emo. I was ducked up 3-4 times in school because of this retarded rule. Some bastard tried to hit me for no apparent reason. In the end I got ducked up for trying to just defend myself and prevent injuries. Framed pictures that say persistence. With a picture of the Grand Canyon. Excessive amounts of exams. Unfortunately Michael Gove seems to think fact recall is more important than demonstrating understanding of something through coursework. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the real life incarnate of Professor Umbridge for doing that. I am a 3rd grade teacher and I find it infuriating how many graded tests I am forced to write. It is so deflating to see kids enjoying reading poems, conducting experiments or playfully doing math only to get the dreaded question, is there going to be a test? And seeing their intrinsic motivation fade into fear of getting bad grades. Districts buying educational software without proper security and COPPA compliant privacy protocols. To add to that, all of them should be accessible and reviewable by parents and education-oriented NGOs. Plenty of school software hardware vendors are sucking up data left and right from kids. Gaggle being the most egregious and invasive. Parents don't know the half of it. And worse, usually aren't asked for approval. Asbestos. Kids getting expelled for self-defense. In the 50s my grandfather had a knife pulled on him in a school in London. My stepfather got into a fight and ended up stabbing the attacker with the knife. Who died? Both were age 16. That was it. Self-defense. Case closed. I wonder how that would play out today. That one creepy teacher you have every year. As well as all the ones who turn out to have been known for years to sexually abuse students but everything was swept under the rug by school admin. It's ducked up that there's another news story about this every few months. Probably will get buried but favoritism. I have seen too many students get reduced to TES because a teacher just doesn't like them. And I was tired of students who never did well. Getting by because teachers favor them. When I was in high school, I saw this entirely too much and it was disgusting. I had one 6th grade teacher that tortured me and several others to the point of some kids needing therapy. I still think about her and the masterful ways she could manipulate people. Truly a sociopath. Yet there were an equal number of kids, all from the right side of the tracks, who she championed. I was discussing this with a girl who I went to school with last year and she said she still gets a Christmas card from that teacher every year. 20 years later. She's retired now and living fat on a pension and the memories of torturing hundreds of kids. Teachers who preach their personal politics. The 2008 election occurred during my 8th grade civics class and my teacher steadfastly refused to even hint at what her political leanings were. Even though students repeatedly asked. She always responded with, "I want you to form your own opinions." Kids. Found Agatha Trunchbull's account. School lunch shaming. While already banned from schools in some areas, and even entire states, it should be removed entirely. It humiliates children and their parents. And the lunches you get from this is usually just bread and cheese. Wait, what? School lunch shaming? Also, schools should be audited for quality of need such lunches, bathrooms, etc. before they are allowed to pump any more money into sports. Abstinence only sex ed. That shit so clearly doesn't work. It just makes kids learn everything from porn all because adults don't have the guts to talk about sex. Thankfully my school wasn't too bad when it came to sex ed overall. We learned about condom usage and everything. Although for some inexplicable reason, we did have an assembly featuring that abstinence only harpy, Pam Stenzel. The bitch who claims that going on birth control means your parents hate you. I knew several girls who were on it for medical reasons. And shit. I'm on Depo now myself at 33 because my body decided to stop properly regulating my hormones for reasons that haven't been figured out yet. She also teaches kids that their whole value as a person is solely in their virginity and if you have sex outside of marriage, you're damaged goods. It was seriously ducked up shit. Lots of what she claimed was outright wrong. And made all the weirder because of the huge disconnect between her and the perfectly decent and reasonable sex ed we were taught in health class. I think we only had the presentation because of a couple idiots on the school board. Because I remember hearing the principal was pretty pissed off after the assembly by the whole thing. Don't know for sure, though. All of the fake, one-sided history lessons. I agree. In elementary school we were taught to like Christopher Columbus, even though he's a terrible person. For public schools specifically, religious exemptions. If you're gonna get upset that your child is being taught evolution, then send them to a Catholic school or whatever the duck your religious preference is. About half of the administration. Look into your local district and it will probably shock you to see how many administrative positions they have and how much is spent on it. Oh, that less than Chuck E. Cheese pizza. My school has Pizza Hut pizza every other day. Teachers that change the PowerPoint slides every 2 minutes and you never finish copying the notes. Not use your students as your own personal therapy session. One of my teachers in 9th grade was a former pitcher for the Cardinals. After that, he found out his wife had been cheating and he would give us play-by-plays of dealing with it in court and how much it all affected him. The only reason they kept him was to be the baseball team's coach. The ability to withhold bathroom breaks. The new grading system. When I see my son's report card, I want to see A's and B's. Not QW, MS, ZM, comma, or the Batman sign. Just let me know how well he is doing for the son's sake. If I don't see straight Batmans on your report card, you're grounded for the summer. I'm from India and we don't really have zero tolerance policy, at least not from where I am from. But there's still bullies around who harass kids and get away with it. So for me, bullies should be removed from schools. Age segregation. Most people recognize that kids learn different subjects at different rates. Many adults have fond memories of learning from older kids or helping teach younger ones, like siblings or neighborhood friends. And there's no real reason to separate children by age instead of interest, ability, etc. And yet immediately upon entrance students are separated like this. It makes no sense. It reduces the chances for kids to learn other life lessons that you get from age mixing. And it doesn't really set you up for adulthood, or even high school college, very well. Edit. Just to be clear, high schools are already set up for age mixing to occur. I was referring more to younger children, elementary, middle. Also, of course that wouldn't work for every student or every school. But I think it's something that shouldn't just be the standard because it's what we're used to. Maybe have more advanced classes for the students who are doing better within the same grade. They always get bogged down by the students who are having trouble. The not PC smart kid class and dumb kid class. Ducking like and subscribe.